you ever feel like every new country song getting released is a duet now? I mean, obviously duets are nothing new, otherwise we would have no Islands in the Stream by Dolly and Kenny. We wouldn't have weird pop culture moments like Tammy Wynette and George Jones singing Golden Ring.
We got George and Tammy together in agreement, and they're going to sing on the show. Would you like to see George and Tammy sing?
I'd love it.
Watch this.
Or Miranda Lambert and Blake Shelton singing You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma.
Reason God made Oklahoma.
We wouldn't have Waylon and Willie's iconic 1978 album with Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys. And we wouldn't have Reba and Linda Davis going back and forth on Does He Love You.
Does he think of you when he's holding me?
But lately, doesn't it just feel like there's a lot of them? Doesn't it feel like every other song seems to be a duet? I know that's how I've been feeling, and then yesterday on Instagram, I saw 2 posts back to back that made me want to make this video. The first was a congratulations to Dierks Bentley, Breland, and Hardy for having a #1 song at radio with Beers on Me.
Buddy, that's on you, 'cause the beer's on me.
The second was a post about the historic nature of having 2 all-female duets in the top 10 at radio at the same time. You had Carly Pearce and Ashley McBride's Never Wanted to Be That Girl, as well as Miranda Lambert and Ellie King's Drunk and I Don't Want to Go Home. And seeing those 2 posts back to back, and then going and looking at the top 10 and seeing that you've also got Cole Swindell and Lainey Wilson with Never Say Never in that mix. And then looking further down the chart, there's so many more. You got Ernest and Morgan Wallen with Flower Shops. You got Russell Dickerson and Jake Scott with She Likes It. You've got Chris Young and Mitchell Tenpenny with The End of a Bar. And then you look at the top recurrent songs that are still getting airplay from last year, and you got Dustin Lynch and Mackenzie Porter with Thinking About You, Jordan Davis and Luke Bryan with Buy Dirt, Kane Brown and Chris Young with Famous Friends, Kelsey Ballerini and Kenny Chesney with Half of My Hometown. And the prevailing feeling is just, damn, we are in a duet moment. And as it turns out, we totally are. That's an extremely valid trend to notice if you have been noticing it. According to an article in November in Country Aircheck, 2021 did in fact see a massive spike in duets. They represented over 26% of all the songs on the chart, which was up from 12.9% of the chart the year before, and up a massive amount from the just 3.7% of charting songs from a decade earlier. Why is this happening? It seems like there's probably a few reasons. One of them is just that it's fun, and that country tends to mimic what a lot of other genres do a few years later, and in pop music, collaborations have been kind of the norm for a decade now, and I think that's probably born out of kind of the EDM world of having a producer as the artist with a featured singer, and maybe country is just sort of being like, well, why don't we just make all of our songs collaborations too. And I don't even mean that cynically. It's probably just fun for artists to hop on another artist's track. I feel like whereas album eras used to be such a bigger deal, now it's just kind of put out a lot of quantity of content in the internet age for your fans. According to one of the senior VPs at Universal who works in A&R, Stephanie Wright, it sort of seems to be part of the process these days. They, being the artists, don't really think about format or genre. They just think about what's great music and what artists they love. Their playlists are hip-hop and country and pop, and it all kind of runs it in together. And so I think that probably is like a good basic first reason. It's just the artists want to be doing it, they find it fun, they've seen other people do it. More cynically, I would say that so many duets are happening because streaming is such a big factor now, and if you can draw in somebody else's fan base into streaming one of your songs, maybe they click your profile and now you are both increasing in streams rather than just one of you getting those listens. I would rather look at this a little bit more critically and think, what are the other reasons that songs are duets? Why do we have this giant spike where there's over twice as many all of a sudden? And I came up with some of my own reasons that I just want to go through in this video. Reason number 1, they are a good vehicle to raise the profile of a smaller artist by having them duet with a larger artist. Basically, if Luke Combs hops on a Jameson Rogers song, and the whole world loves Luke Combs, but maybe doesn't know who Jameson Rogers is, there's a good chance a lot more people are going to know who Jameson Rogers is when they listen to that song that's on Luke Combs' profile. This is what it felt like to me when Small Town Hypocrite by Kaylee Hammock got a Chris Stapleton remix, or when Buy Dirt by Jordan Davis had Luke Bryan on it randomly, even though I don't think there's much about that song that needs it to be a duet, but like I said in my year-end video, of course you're gonna take a Luke Bryan duet if the biggest star of radio for the last decade wants to be on your track.
I'm killer and I be that way.
And there's a bunch of examples about that, like when Asher Monroe was on that Blake Shelton song, Flower shops would fit into that category. I think this is part of the strategy that Lauren Elena's team was trying for a long time when she was duetting on every single song, and that really did help her. A lot of people found out who she is because she was on songs like One Beer or What Ifs by Kane Brown. And they even had to drop her as the duet partner on Dustin Lynch's Thinking About You because she had a different duet with John Party, Getting Over Him, that was actually going to be her single at radio. And I don't know if you saw this, but she actually just announced that she is parting ways with her label, and so I'm very intrigued to see what she does next, because they definitely tried. They definitely went for it and tried to launch her to be like a big star a number of times. It's never quite all clicked. And then there's a sort of second category after that first one in which legacy artists stand something to gain by doing duets with whoever is the hottest person in the industry right then. And these kind of hotshot new artists also, they want to be able to check off that they did a duet with one of their legends. And so even if it was just totally organic and there was no marketing savvy involved, I think it is probably savvy for someone like Eric Church to be on a Luke Combs single like Does to Me. Probably is savvy of Dierks Bentley to get Hardy, one of the hottest songwriters in the industry right now, on one of his songs. The next would be there's an artist that needs to be on country radio that might not be on country radio without this duet. Some examples of that would include Adele having that weird Chris Stapleton version of Easy on Me, which I hate how that thing sounds. BB Rexa having Florida Georgia Line on Meant to Be. Even Taylor Swift, even though she had her time on country radio, they really don't play her much anymore, but she had that Chris Stapleton version of I Bet You Think About Me, which it didn't really manage to climb too far up the chart, but it probably helped that Chris was on there to get programmers to actually give it a listen. Now the flip side of that one is maybe you have a duet because you can get onto pop streaming because of it. Now it's not very likely that most pop radio are gonna play songs from country radio, even if they feature a pop star. Like sometimes it seems that the country industry is so eager to have pop stars on songs because they feel glamored that Julia Michaels deigned to appear in a Keith Urban track, but pop radio's like, well, we don't care if Keith Urban's on your song. That doesn't mean you're going to get played on our stations, which is a hill I have been dying on for like a decade now. But on streaming, I think it probably is a lot more likely that there is a lot more of that crossover willingness to check out a new artist. And it's been very well documented and talked about a lot that there's been this avalanche of pop stars on guy country songs, whether it's Pink and Keith Urban, whether Tori Kelly's on Take Back Home Girl with Chris Lane, Demi Lovato randomly appearing with Brad Paisley as they sing about getting it on. Or, I guess she's not a pop star, but remember when Lele Pons was like the Spanish singer on the Jake Owen song on his last album? That was kind of weird. But it's not always the girls. I mean, you got Bieber on the Dan and Shay song. John Legend will go do one with Carrie Underwood. But yeah, I feel like you understand that trend and why it would be advantageous. And then the last of my made-up categories is just that a duet sometimes helps tell the story of the song. And this is the one that I think is the most good reason to have a duet, and the one that I certainly care about the most. A great example of that right now would be Never Wanted to Be That Girl. Carly Pearce and Ash McBride are both realizing that they are seeing the same man. The woman who's married to him and the woman who's the mistress talking to each other, being like, I never wanted to be that girl that was the other woman that was cheating. Another example that really stands out to me would be Remind Me by Brad Paisley and Carrie Underwood. He is singing about how he misses her and he misses the love that he felt. And then her voice comes in out of nowhere, Remind me of how you love me. Ooh, and then she takes over. It's so good, but there's this unhappy couple trying to figure out why they loved each other, and they're talking back and forth, and it really works as a duet. And Jason Aldean has a couple of those. He's got Don't You Want to Stay with Kelly Clarkson, where they're talking to each other. Even that Carrie Underwood one, If I Didn't Love You, that one's less like necessary, but it still works. I think maybe his song with Miranda Lambert, Waste the Whiskey, I love that song, but it is an unnecessary duet. There's nothing inherently duetish about that song. There was a Billboard article published a couple months ago that actually talked about country collaborations, and it lists a few reasons that people might want to collaborate. The things that really stand out from the list they give are it might bring some variation to an artist's sound. So yeah, it gives them a chance to try something different or go a little bit outside their box and cut a song that they maybe wouldn't do on their own. maybe they just represent a buzzworthy event. That's a good point. There are times where you just want to see these two artists in the same song. I feel like that's kind of Something Bad by Carrie and Miranda. That was like, look, we're the two big women of country and we have been for a decade and now we're making a song together. That's fun to see. It's like Lady Marmalade. Same thing recently, kind of in like the Western mainstream country scene with Ian Munsick and Cody Johnson doing Long Live Cowgirls. They're friends, they've toured together a long time, and now they're like, let's just put out a cowboy anthem. And it's good, even if I still want less auto-tune on Ian's voice in the chorus. This makes the point that if you're gonna tour together, this gives you something to do together in your tour. Like right now, Hailey Whitters is touring with Jordan Davis, and she has that song, The Ride, with him, so they can sing that together. Also, thanks for the love on the Hailey video. It was a labor of love. Basically, there's a lot of duets right now. I'm sure it's annoying for radio programmers trying to figure out how do you space out like the 3 songs Lauren Elena is on, and if Carrie is a featured artist with Jason Aldean and she's got her own new single, where do you put it? If Kelsey Ballerini has that Kenny Chesney song and her own, where do you put it? But I think probably it's a little overstated at the moment. I don't want the trend to just keep going, that there's more and more and more and more and more collaborations, just because they feel sort of pointless, most of them. The vast majority, they're inoffensive. I don't dislike a song because it's a duet, but I feel like duets are really cool moments as a music fan, and we're a little bit watering down the stock of them if we are just using every song as a marketing opportunity. It can kind of feel like you're watching the Avengers and there's some C-list hero, but you know he's going to get a spin-off movie because they already announced it. So now we got to spend 5 minutes with this random act that, you know, if everything's a promotional opportunity, it just feels like it takes the stakes down a little bit. So I'm fine with it right now, but let's hope it doesn't become a monster. But what do you think about all the duets that are out there right now? Do you like them? Do you not? What do you think is the best reason that something should be a duet? Kind of random video, but this was on my mind, and I was like, actually, this is sort of interesting. So here we are. Love y'all. Bye.